Welcome to our video about the fascinating world of Pokemon and their placement on the Tree of Life. Today, we take a closer look at Slowbro and its relationship with Ninetales and Alakazam, as they are both part of the fictitious Neocaniformia clade. Ready? Let's go! Neocaniformia refers to a hypothetical cladistic unit within the order Carnivora that encompasses all caniform taxa, except Amphicyonidae. In this model, well-known families such as Canidae, dogs, Ursidae, bears, Mustelidae, martens, otters, weasels, and related species, Procyonidae, raccoons and relatives, Iluridae, red panda, as well as all Pinnipedia, Phocidae, seals, Otaridae, sea lions, Odobenidae, walruses, are integral components of an evolutionarily coherent lineage. This concept aims to emphasize morphological, molecular, and ecological commonalities among the remaining Caniformia and to clearly distinguish them from Amphicyonidae, the so-called bear dogs. The members of Neocaniformia exhibit a number of shared anatomical adaptations that underscore their kinship, although the individual families differ in their specific adaptations, such as the elongated snouts of Canidae, the more massive structures of Ursidae, or the flexible, often blade-like teeth of Mustelids. They share a fundamental cranial design. This common foundation reflects evolutionary solutions for adapting to diverse prey and dietary conditions, skeleton structure and limbs, comparable adaptations in postcranial anatomy, such as well-developed shoulder girdles and variable joint structures, indicate a shared evolutionary history in which both speed and endurance as well as strength and agility were crucial for survival in different habitats. Adaptations to the habitat. From terrestrial lifestyles in dogs and bears to semi-aquatic or entirely aquatic adaptations in pinnipeds, the morphological diversity within Neocaniformia demonstrates that evolutionary developments occurred in close alignment with respective ecological niches. Divergence and radiation. The geological distribution of fossils highlights that these families diversified within a relatively compact timeframe. Creative adaptations to regional environmental conditions and ecological niches emerged, which, in a consolidated cladistic view, can be interpreted as expressions of a common evolutionary strategy. The shared evolutionary pressure to adapt to rapidly changing environmental conditions and prey availability likely led to the various morphotypes. While Canidae evolved strategies suited for running-based hunting, Ursidae developed strength-oriented all-round mechanisms. Pinnipeds optimized their body structures for life in water, and mustelid-like animals relied on agility and opportunistic adaptations. The broad spectrum of dietary strategies and habitats, from pure predators to omnivores and specialized aquatic dwellers, makes Neocaniformia a prime example of successful ecological niche occupation and adaptation in carnivora history. Mustelidae, martens, are a family of caniform carnivores, Conoidea. While the family includes otters, badgers, polecats, minks, and weasels, in everyday language, martens usually refers to the true martens, martes, including stone and tree martens. Skunks, which were previously classified as martens, are now generally regarded as a separate family. Most martens have a long, slender, and supple body shape, with the exception of badgers and wolverines, which are stocky and rather bulky. Their fur is usually predominantly brown or black, and some species feature spots, stripes, or throat markings. Several species have striking facial markings composed of contrasting light and dark areas. Eurasian badgers, for example, display a pattern of black and white bands. The purpose of these markings is not entirely clear. They may serve as a warning signal to potential predators, indicating that the animal is formidable and should be avoided. Some species, such as the tiger polecat, zorilla, or Libyan striped weasel, have conspicuous body-wide patterns. These martens are capable of ejecting foul-smelling fluids from their anal glands. Northern species, namely the stoat, long-tailed weasel, and least weasel, can change their fur color over the seasons from white in winter to brown in summer. However, this extreme color change only occurs in the northern distribution areas of these species. The coloration is controlled by hormones and depends on the amount of daylight and temperature. The tails of most martens are relatively long and densely furred, but badgers have relatively short tails. Their limbs are generally short, and each foot bears 5 curved, non-retractable claws. The skull is characterized by a short snout and relatively small ears. The number of teeth varies by species from 28 to 38, with a distinctive feature being the loss of the second upper molar. Most martens have well-developed anal glands, similar to skunks, whose secretions can be used for territorial marking and, in some species, for defense. However, otters have weakly developed anal glands, and in sea otters, they seem to be absent altogether. All martens possess whiskers, which are particularly pronounced in otters, allowing them to extend from their heads even underwater. The body structure of different martens aligns with their hunting and lifestyle habits. While weasels are digitigrades, badgers can be considered true plantigrades. Some arboreal members of the family, such as the true martens, genus Martes, move partly on their soles and partly on their toes. Weasels and polecats have elongated bodies to follow small prey into underground tunnels. Badgers also partially live underground and possess a compact body with powerful digging claws. Tree-dwelling martens are distinguished by sharp climbing claws and long tails that serve as balancing organs. Semi-aquatic and aquatic martens, such as otters and minks, feature elongated, torpedo-shaped bodies and strong paddle-shaped tails, some of which are even laterally flattened. The legs of aquatic martens are short and webbed, though minks only have partially webbed feet. The most adapted to an aquatic life is the sea otter, whose hind feet resemble those of seals. Compared to other carnivores, most martens are relatively small, but the size difference among members of this family is considerable. Ranging from the tiny least weasel, the smallest carnivore at around 25 grams, to sea otters, giant otters, and wolverines, which can exceed 30 kilograms. Most species exhibit pronounced sexual dimorphism in body size. Males are, on average, about 25% heavier than females. The dentition is highly variable and depends on dietary habits. Martens possess between 28 and 38 teeth, depending on the species. All have the typical carnivore shearing mechanism formed by the fourth upper premolar and the first lower molar. These are particularly sharp in specialized carnivores like weasels, while in others, they are more robust and form a powerful crushing mechanism to break hard shells. Sea otters, Cape otters, and dwarf otters, which predominantly consume shellfish, possess strong canine teeth that resemble molars. Their molars themselves are also particularly well developed. Martens' canines are long, and their incisors are unspecialized. Martens are distributed nearly worldwide, except in the Australasian region, Madagascar, the Caribbean, and other remote island groups, as well as Antarctica. Most marten species are found in Eurasia. Africa hosts 9 species, South America is home to 4 different otters, 2 Gallicta species, grisons, the Patagonian weasel, and 3 Mustelidae species. Additionally, the tyra inhabits the southernmost parts of North America. The South American fish otter and the greater grison also inhabit parts of Central and thus North America. North America hosts the American badger, wolverine, pine marten, fisher, pecan, North American river otter, mink, and 4 weasel or polecat species, Mustelidae genus. In New Zealand, humans introduced 2 marten species, the stoat and least weasel. Different marten species inhabit a variety of habitats, including temperate and boreal forests, tropical rainforests, steppes, savannas, and tundra regions. However, they rarely venture into extremely dry environments. Many species depend on proximity to water and live along rivers and lakes, with some residing on marine coastlines. Otters exhibit the strongest affinity for water, with sea otters inhabiting the open North Pacific and considered almost entirely aquatic. Since martens, as relatively small animals, are preyed upon by larger predators, they require shelters as resting places. In many regions, multiple marten species coexist. For example, 7 species live side by side in the British Isles. Most species are crepuscular or nocturnal, though some forage during the day. Many martens use self-dug burrows or those taken over from other animals, along with other shelters, as resting places. Many species are ground dwellers or use their slim physiques to hunt in underground burrows, while others often reside in trees. There are numerous exceptional swimmers among martens. Martens, particularly otters and minks, are mostly active year-round. However, badgers in northern regions enter winter dormancy, as food becomes difficult to access. Martens are generally solitary and territorial animals that mark their territory boundaries with the secretions of their anal glands, urine, or feces. Their sense of smell is highly developed, serving to locate prey and communicate with conspecifics. Their vision and hearing are also well developed. Except for some otter species and the European badger, all martens are solitary. Females typically defend territories large enough to sustain themselves and their offspring. Male territories are larger and always overlap with those of multiple females. Male territories generally do not overlap with each other, while females are more tolerant, though their territories also show minimal overlap. As a result, an intersexual territory system forms, which strongly overlaps with the opposite sex's territories. Groups of South American giant otters usually consist of a breeding pair, juveniles, and offspring from the current year. Sea otters live in gender-segregated groups, which can be surprisingly large. In Alaska, male sea otter groups sometimes comprise hundreds of individuals. Male groups are only temporarily stable and dissolve during mating season. European badgers on the British Isles sometimes live in mixed-sex groups of up to 23 individuals, whereas elsewhere in Europe, they are solitary or live in pairs. Martens tend to be quiet to avoid attracting attention from predators and potential prey. Vocalizations are mainly observed during direct encounters with other animals or conspecifics. Dwarf otters and giant otters, two species that live in groups, have more than 12 and 9 different vocalizations, respectively, for communication. Martens are primarily carnivorous, though depending on the species and season, they also consume plant-based food to varying degrees. The prey spectrum within this family is vast, often including animals significantly larger than the predators themselves. Some weasel species can hunt much heavier rabbits, and wolverines even attack reindeer-sized animals. Their diet includes all types of vertebrates, such as small mammals, birds and their eggs, reptiles, amphibians, and fish, along with insects, crustaceans, worms, and more. They also consume fruits, nuts, and tubers. Weasels and polecats, Mustelidae, as well as minks, are specialized carnivores that primarily prey on small animals, occasionally eating fruits or berries. Stoats and long-tailed weasels mainly hunt hares and rodents, while least weasels focus on smaller rodents. Minks, in contrast, are adapted to aquatic prey such as frogs, fish, crayfish, and invertebrates. True martens, martes, are less strictly carnivorous and consume significant amounts of fruit and berries depending on the season. They are mostly arboreal and notorious predators of tree squirrels. The fisher is uniquely adapted to hunting porcupines, Erethizon. Carrion constitutes a considerable portion of its diet. The larger wolverine is even more reliant on scavenging, often consuming wolf-killed prey. Sun badgers predominantly feed on small animals and invertebrates. Eurasian badgers, melees, are typical omnivores, whereas the North American badger is largely carnivorous, sometimes forming hunting partnerships with coyotes to locate and dig out burrowing rodents. In these cooperative hunts, the badger benefits from the coyote's keen sense of smell, while the coyote takes advantage of the badger's digging claws. Honey badgers primarily consume small animals, insects, roots, and fruits, with a particular fondness for honey. Otters mainly eat fish, frogs, and crustaceans, while sea otters consume mussels, sea urchins, and bottom-dwelling fish. Sea otters use stones as tools to break open hard shells. Evolutionarily, martens are an ancient carnivore group. Fossils confirm their presence in Europe since the Eocene and in North America and Asia since the Oligocene. Their expansion likely paralleled the development of rodents. Around 12 to 9 million years ago, during the late Miocene, the first wave of specialization occurred, shaping the major modern marten lineages. This process coincided with the global cooling at the end of the Miocene, which led to the spread of steppes and park-like landscapes, favoring marten diversity. During the Pliocene, 5 to 2 million years ago, global temperatures continued to drop, giving rise to new habitats such as steppes, forest savannas, and northern coniferous forests. This opened ecological niches for rodents and songbirds, which in turn created opportunities for martens as their predators. The second wave of marten evolution followed, establishing most modern genera. Many species of Mustela evolved as specialized rodent hunters, while several martes species adapted to the northern taiga regions. The focus of evolutionary development was in Eurasia, where most subfamilies and genera evolved. From there, various members of the family repeatedly migrated across land bridges to other continents, such as Africa and North and South America. This first occurred in the early Miocene with the martens of the now extinct subfamily Lepartini and the so-called Paleomustelids, which moved from Eurasia to North America. Toward the end of the Miocene and the beginning of the Pliocene, newer genera such as Lutra, which may already represent the closely related American genus Lontra, and Mustela migrated from Eurasia to North America via the Bering Land Bridge. Similarly, true badgers, Actonyx, meleys, which are now restricted to the Old World, were present in North America at the transition between the Miocene and Pliocene. The North American badgers, currently represented by the American badger, were widespread in North America during the late Miocene, including genera such as Chamatotaxis and Pliotaxidia. The stoat, black-footed ferret, least weasel, and pine marten are believed to have migrated from Eurasia to North America only during the Pleistocene. The fossil record of martens in Africa is relatively sparse, but this continent is known to have hosted the largest family representative, Equus, along with the otter Vishnuinix. Martens reached South America 3 to 2 million years ago during the Pliocene, when the newly formed Isthmus of Panama enabled the Great American interchange between North and South America. All South American species trace their origins to North American migrants. The giant otter, now endemic to South America, appears to be closely related to Cytherium, an extinct genus from the North American Pliocene. Ultimately, the origin of this genus, as well as that of other South American martens such as Grisons and Tyra, is likely Eurasian. That's it for now. In the next episode, we'll take a closer look at Farfetch'd and its relationship with Golduck. Feel free to subscribe to our channel, leave a like, and check in next time.